you're deep into crypto.
I am.
So let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, from my side, recently I haven't been looking at it as much, but
there's nothing to look at right now.
Nothing to look at.
There's nothing to look at.
Yeah, and I'm not like listening to. Obviously a lot of people aren't a fan of the prices right now, but I think like the future use of it, it's just a no-brainer. I just don't see how it can't translate, right? I mean, economies of scale and where we're at with the dollar and inflation rates, like oftentimes we're kind of told that U.S. dollar is what, a 2% to 3% inflation rate. Like people's races are based off that, but even dating back to like college, they say like the Big Mac index or test. The Big Mac's inflation's been like 5%, if not higher, since the early 2000s.
Right.
And then if you're talking about that as an example, and the whole reason why it's an example is because a Big Mac consists of items from multiple industries. So you get a good valuation of what the inflation is on those goods. So if the Big Mac's going at a 5% increase, but your idea of like inflation on your dollar is only 2 to 3%, it's obviously not correlating. Yeah. And then compound that over the last 20 years, you're looking at heavy offset of it. And then obviously, like you look at the different valuation, the dollar right now, I'm pretty sure it's the Great British Pound is higher. There's like, it fluctuates, but for me, I think crypto bridges the gap with a lot of that, and then its uses are pretty abundant. Yeah. Especially like Ethereum, right?
It's gonna be a huge hedge for the U.S. dollar. Oh man. Especially over time, more people are gonna get hip to it and whatnot.
But also, let's ask like what affects the U.S. dollar? It's like, well, hypothetically speaking, now this is the contra. This is the contra to crypto. This is like when I talk to my dad about crypto. Like this is the person I've. Yeah. And when it's doing well, I'm like, hey, did you see crypto? When it's not, he hasn't heard me talk about crypto for 2 months.
It's been down.
He'll be like, I told you so. The only heavy argument I see is like, let's say U.S. debt, and let's say the U.S. is hedging a lot in hypothetically like Bitcoin or whatever. I don't know what that looks like. Let's say Russia knocks on the door, or China, and they say, we would like our money that you owe us. Will they accept crypto? Yeah. Or my guess is they would require something like a gold standard for the debt. Yep. Yeah. So that's where like the question comes in play. Is like institutionally it's been accepted. Now within economies, like will it translate? Will it be accepted?
Yeah. Right. In my mind, I think it's going to come down to like long term, whatever is eventually going to stabilize to a somewhat comfortable point, as well as offer like multiple valuable uses. Like things that like can be built off of those like those blockchains and stuff like that. And I actually have an incredibly basic understanding of it. I just know that there are certain like cryptos that are better for building, certain that are just like essentially just a token. But I think like things that can have a further use than just representing like a value itself, like are probably gonna stay ahead.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Ethereum for me is like the one that rings the bell all the time. Like Bitcoin obviously is like the gold standard and the big name in it, but Ethereum for me has had the most practicality and understanding, and like I know close to nothing when it comes to like its use. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a DeFi based programmer, and I don't understand applications. But I do understand that the workflow in terms of getting an application back to a certain network, you either have a decentralized network or a centralized network. I mean, just in the pros and cons, usually that decentralized network outweighs a lot of that. You have a lot of issues with private data. Hypothetically speaking, if you were to want to YouTube, okay, let's say you want to start posting videos and you want to do it without having yourself canceled, what's going to cause that? What's going to give you the most free reign? In my opinion, it'd be decentralized. Something that doesn't tie you and gives you like an ability to have free speech, And when you get into the details, the abilities that something that, like, I guess to go back, an Ethereum, Ether itself, Ethereum is the network, Ether is the coin, right? And that's like the blockchain that's used to program these applications. So I am just an owner of Ethereum. Now I can stake that, and by staking, it's allowing another group or entity to use my Ether in the process of creating decentralized applications.
Yep.
And then you
returning interest on what you hold already.
Exactly. Yep. And then the best part is you're feeding into the success of that system
itself,
because you're now allowing applications and like processes to be applied with that decentralized token.
Yeah.
Now on the other side, you could sit there and hold it, and then when it gets to a certain value, which is kind of the strategy I'm taking, is like then you can kind of stake it, and you never really have to liquidate it. People are actually making like lifestyles based off of income they're making staking it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like rocket science. And then on top of that, like if you're now able to back loans, get loans backed by how much you have staked in cryptos, right? So people will actually, like banks will, if you show $100,000 in Bitcoin, I don't know what the translation is in rate, but they'll give you a certain percentage knowing that you have that
in dollars
in collateral.
Okay.
Yes. So you can get a loan off of that without pulling it out. And from my understanding, there's applications now within the Ethereum network that allow you to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's usually like a ratio of like 10% of whatever you have, or like some lower percentage. But it's now, from my understanding, there's now applications that are almost letting you to get to like an even higher number where you can back it like 1-for-1, which at that point, you're eliminating a need for a bank.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
you
saying?
don't need a bank in that case, dude.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, you're gonna get way higher returns staking crypto right now than keeping money in a savings account.
Like might have a percent. Or like, I don't even know.
I mean, it's like, all right, what do you get? 1% or like a fraction of a percent?
You get a fraction of a percent.
But like compound interest, man, and like back to the inflation rate, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't work.
Now, as a risk factor, it's like, okay, but like, I mean, I don't have children. But the reason why I'm doing this is for my children in the future, if I'm like lucky enough to have them. And I know what I'm putting in now. I see where its equity pays off. I see where people start finding its use. You saw a big wake up this year.
Yeah.
Then I think the problem is there's a lot of whales, and the numbers itself, and there's people who monitor this on a daily basis. The big number to look at is number of transactions on the network.
Okay.
From when like I guess you can say the pandemic hit, but especially this year, the number of Ethereum transactions on the Ethereum network using Ether has gone up exponentially.
Yeah.
With the number that's staying on exchanges is plummeting, right? Because people are actually taking it off of Coinbase or your exchanges, and they're getting it into wallets.
Yep.
And that's showing an intention to hold it.
That's a long-term.
Yeah.
Right?
That speaks to the long-term use of it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then I'm pretty sure this is a pretty special month for the D21, like the B21 protocol or the London protocol, which causes like they're prepping for. I may be speaking out of my breadth of knowledge, but from my understanding, they're setting up a proof of stake model for Ethereum 2.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And as of this release of the London protocol in July, every time you use an Ethereum, it is burned. An Ether is no longer available. So there's a proof of stake concept where it's not abundantly available. There's a set limit and a burn rate for those Ethereum, right?
Okay.
Now look at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and no disrespect to anybody who holds Dogecoin. That's like if you were to open up a Dogecoin, right? You would have a meme, like a JPEG, right? Now to say that JPEG is not worth something, that's is kind of crazy too, because you have tokens that are being purchased with Ethereum that hold some value because they're serialized. Well, this is a serialized JPEG.
Yep.
It's just like, how much respect do you give that image of that dog, right? So I made my own words. I said at a really low price, Doge wouldn't really go up, but it did. Just my principle for holding Ethereum and its utility contradicts me owning Doge. You know, I just, for my own like reasons, just don't want to contradict myself for my investing principle.
It goes against your system.
Yeah, and that might be wrong. And another factor is I use Coinbase as my exchange.
Yep.
I no longer have Robinhood.
Yeah.
Because of like
bullshit.
I think they're shady.
Yeah.
And I don't have availability to buy Dogecoin with my current exchange. Would I? I would throw $100, couple $100 in there, like let it sit.
It's good to have some right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is tanking a little bit right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing it come back to life a little bit. Like come back to reality.
Yeah.
You know, but if this does drop, like, you know, deep enough to where like it before all this run up started and whatnot, it'd probably be a good idea for some people to maybe just explore the idea of, because you never know if that shit will kind of make its run again, you know?
Yeah, right.
Which it honestly, I think, you know, it probably will, but it's just I don't know. It's weird. It pays to kind of be stupid right now. I hate to say it, you know, like you're seeing like AMC like randomly hit like waves, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's still value in movie theaters, you know, like on a fundamental like aspect, you know, but like at the end of the day, like AMC shouldn't be worth $50 a stock or something like that at any time.
Yeah.
And like just like really like Doge shouldn't be running to 70 cents right now, but it freaking just did it like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Do
you guys own any other cryptos? Or is there any other ones that like fancy your eye, I guess?
I own some Ethereum just because I do believe in its long-term use. Just only like a few $100 of it, nothing crazy. And I own some Cardano actually off of between our conversations and off of your recommendation. I got a decent amount of Cardano actually.
I want to hear you guys talk about Cardano because there's a lot of people who are very high on Cardano.
Well, I think it's a very ethical mission that they're on, and it seems like they work off of a not a proof of work model, but is it proof of stake or proof of scale?
I think it's proof of stake as well.
Proof of stake, yeah. Because I know that the one difference is they're not a proof of work model. I just can't for the life of me remember the exact. Yeah. It's POS, proof of.
Yeah.
Something.
I think it's
proof of stake. I think so too.
And that CEO, like a big reason why, or one of the.
He was a previous Ethereum guy.
Yes,
right?
and
Jerald, fact check that.
Dude, I've heard people like argue the same reason why people love it, and him being as like one of the leaders of it. Yeah. They also don't like it because they think he's just an amazing marketer, right? He's done an amazing job marketing it, and they've targeted basically the portion of the world that every I guess you could say financial institution in terms of transactions has ignored. Yeah. So they want to hit that I think it's like 3 billion people that don't even have banks in the world, right? Yeah. And there are companies now, I believe one of them's like a ticker symbol Humble. Okay. They're trying to do almost be the PayPal for that third world economy.
Oh, for the economy,
and they're trying, and same way Cardano's trying to introduce themselves through the continent of Africa and helping set people up with that, because from my understanding they can't get medical help without like some of these banking institutions, and with this in place they would be able to bridge that gap. Yeah. So that's their foot in the door. And obviously, there's a couple other factors. They have like a council of 10,000 or a 10,000 member board. So for anything to be passed, you have to have a majority of 10,000 people approve it. Where you have like Ethereum and these other networks. I don't know Ethereum's. I can't. And I'm not totally sure what theirs are. But you have a lot of smaller ownership groups that are deciding how these coins function. Where Cardano, just in that case, one, outlines things very well, gives target dates. When they don't hit target dates, it seems like a very honest and explanatory fashion. And then they've got experience with the actual crypto industry, where at its current price, I don't know what it is right now, but it's favoring, I think they say it could hit like $5 within the next year or so, year or two, $10 within the next couple years. Yeah. For what it's at now, that's pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good return. And then obviously, you have the functionality of it, to serve your purpose.
For sure.
But yeah, between Ethereum and Cardano, I thought those are pretty good. And then there's all coins based off of Ethereum.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's another reason why Ethereum is just it's just such a heavily like prospect in this field. I feel like just because there's so many, all those altcoins, if they ever hit like freaking pay dirt, they all run off of like what's it, the Ethereum blockchain and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Bitcoin's king, but like at the end of the day, Ethereum's gonna have more use in the long run. I just feel like Bitcoin will be the gold because it was the first one, but I mean Ethereum's always. I think it's just gonna be. It will get talked about more because it's gonna be used a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot more use for it.
I mean, you could set up your own bank with Ethereum tokens right now.
Yeah.
Like you have an HTML that ties to the blockchain, and with the application, and then that loops back to the HTML. So your connection could be through that blockchain, and then hypothetically speaking, and they have tutorials where you could do it. You can set this up on the network with a website, and you can have a promised return. Let's say call it 6% for people staking with your banking institution, Bank of Jerald.
Yeah.
Right. And then,
Bank of Jerald.
Everyone start using
the Great National Bank of Jerald, right? And then you're like, all right, like I'll promise you 6%, and then what you do with that Ethereum is you turn it around and then stake it in projects for specific returns. Okay. The same way a bank works with your U.S. dollar.
Yeah, that's almost. I mean, that almost even sounds like kind of like a finance manager taking it and putting it in different portfolios, having a portfolio with a target of getting a 6% return.
Right.
So.
Right. And I guess my perspective is you shouldn't leave any stone left unturned.
Yeah. Yep.
I think like I vibe pretty well with you guys because you guys just are students of life, right?
Yep.
You guys are very willing to learn, and there's certain people in conversations are very like quickly say I know on subjects, but then there's people who are very willing to listen. I'm just listening, I'm just here to listen. I'm here to figure it out. If I eat it on these investments, okay, all I can hang my hat on is like I tried, and I kept an open mind, and I don't really regret it at all, like I put in some in Ethereum, I took it out like because I wanted to buy some camera gear, and it was like I was well above like what I had put it in at, and I was like okay, and then it dropped down, I put in some more, so it's just like a consistent like
it's a cycle.
Yeah, it's like put $50 a month into it, set it up on auto deposit. Don't stop looking at the price. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's what is that dollar cost averaging or something
exactly.
like that? Dollar cost averaging.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a good way to because if you try to catch those waves and everything, you're gonna drive yourself fucking nuts. Like trying to find it just dipped a little bit, and then you buy, and then it dips more, and you're like, oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, or it shoots up. So it's just like, that's something. What little I do know, at least from an investment standpoint, like I do know, like it's more of a if you just consistently every month I'm putting $50 in, it's gonna end up kind of equaling out to being probably better than if you tried to guess when it's at its low.
I mean, for the most part, net positive. You could look at the stock market, bull market for quite some time. I mean, people are wondering when it'll taper down, but it keeps going up, and you have it slowed down, and it kind of looks like it goes opposite of where crypto is sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I feel like they're gonna hedge each other. I think that's kind of what I think. I mean, I don't know, man.
I can see that. That's a good.
Yeah.
I can see when the market's hot, crypto will kind of be in the dirt a little bit, and when the market.
Well, money's got to be coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
So
and one's I don't know. I think you should have your money in both, because the returns right now though they could be better in crypto, honestly, just because there's so much speculation behind it.
Yeah.
Well,
it's so very volatile. It's so very early. People are trying to learn this shit, and it's just it's tough.
I just don't think people say it's all right, there's no such thing as free money, which I 100% agree. The money I put into Ethereum and these other cryptos, at the end of the day, I know that there's a cost of peace of mind, there's a cost of time, and the fact that you can't use that money right now.
Yep.
So it's anything. It's anything, man. It's you put in work, that at the end of the day, it's not really the end result. Cool, like I got a nice number in my check, but it's the fact that I took the time to be like process driven enough to invest
to
in
take
myself.
the risk and to learn it and whatnot. Because there's a lot of people who won't take the risk, and there's this the shoulda, coulda, woulda shit, you know. And
absolutely.
like at the end of the day, man, just like you said, you wouldn't regret if it bites you at some point, but you gotta like, dude. I don't know, we hear about these people who made investments at certain ages and whatnot, and they turned out to be very well and whatnot. You gotta take the step and whatnot, and at least put a little into something, you know.
Absolutely.
Spread it out. I don't know, you know, do something like that.
Some people have been doing it the wrong way, right? So it's like, all right, like I think this week it's gonna blow up. They take their savings out, put it in. They got a house payment they gotta make or car payment. You shouldn't be doing that.
That's the equivalent of gambling.
You know?
Yeah, it is.
That's gambling.
Social,
they want to see it hit.
Social stock market gambling. Yeah.
That's swing trading and gambling.
Yeah, but then, dude, also it's like people will put it in and they don't have it in savings. Like general rule of thumb, from my understanding, they say you should have 3 to 6 months expenses in your savings account.
Yep.
That's what's sitting there. Now, that's like even kind of, I guess you could say, like on the lower scale. Some people say even 6 to 9.
Yeah.
And then if you think about what that does for your peace of mind, you're just a much chiller person. You're not stressed about it. It's like, hey, listen, I need this job, but I don't need it that much. I don't need to step past my principles. Or some people have to do different things to make money, and
for sure,
you don't want to get to that point, right? It's like,
put yourself in a bad life position just because you like want to keep paying for your fucking Ford Bronco.
Right.
Yeah.
But we got to preface.
It's called selling your soul.
It's
called selling your soul, dude.
It happens, right?
It happens all the time.
But we preface this, I'm assuming, like with, this is not investment advice for anybody that's listening.
Right. Yeah. This is for entertainment.
Yes. and suggestion to just look into it, right?
Yeah.
Don't take it from us. Some of the things like Google, like what are the uses of Ethereum? What are the uses of Bitcoin? What are the uses of Doge? Like look at news articles. Who's investing in it? Who's not? There's a lot of transparency within the network itself. I follow guys that are specifically they create applications on the blockchain.
Yep.
I want to know what their perspective is because they have a stake on their day-to-day jobs.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing.
They chose that as their sword. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you go from a regular application creator, you're like, I'm going DeFi because I feel that long-term, one, knowing that knowledge benefits me financially, but two, I believe it's the future of private data, how people function. I mean, like I have family in Europe. We send money through Western Union normally.
Yep.
You don't need a Western Union if they have a wallet now.
Right,
they have a crypto wallet. What's up, Aunt? Like, let me send you some Ether.
Yeah.
You know, like.
One thing I want to say is cool, just for anyone who is not in the crypto yet, but you know they're on the fringe or they're just completely against it or anything like that. I think a big sign that we see on crypto right now is I don't know if you watched the past. This last week's UFC with McGregor and Poirier and whatnot, but Crypto.com is now into the game, you know. So it's like,
dude, and
this is
what
not
about
bold.
the fucking UFC like not ever like getting like sponsors or not having fighters have sponsors and then they just slap a fucking
Crypto.com right
I saw that and I was like,
it almost looked out of place, you know.
It does look weird.
It does look weird, but like. For me, for someone who has interest in crypto and whatnot, like I see it as a really positive sign.
It is.
I think it's really cool. Like I mean, like
I agree with
I don't know, like you wouldn't throw that on like a major organization's like branding. And
they
whatnot.
must be sold on it being
crypto's
something.
There's some future in crypto. That's just all I want to say. So like that to me was just such a cool sign. I'm like they're basically on the hottest sport right now, you know.
Yeah.
So. There's something there, you know?
Well, and what I want to say, too, is, opening up an account on Robinhood or Coinbase and stuff like that is easy.
Yeah.
Just clicking the buttons on your screen to purchase Ethereum and Bitcoin or Dogecoin is easy. Anything that's really worth doing and that's going to actually be a worthwhile investment for you is not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. It's like life. Nothing that's really, really, really worth it is free or is easy.
Sure. And you ain't gonna get rich overnight.
Well, you're not gonna get. There's no way to get rich.
Unless if Doge does that again.
Or outside of the lottery, which is the lottery. Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
the point I'm making is what's hard is taking the steps to understand which projects Ethereum is being utilized on, where it's heading, doing the digging, doing the due diligence, understanding what you're doing with your money. So it's like if you truly want to make sure that your dollars are being put in a good spot, like you gotta fucking do what's hard and do your research and look shit up, and that's why I'm almost like I'm not huge into this stuff because I haven't taken the time to, like I said, I have a very basic knowledge of most of these things, and I go off of like recommendations more people close to me that I really trust, because like I haven't, like if I see something that looks good, like I'm not gonna throw money at it unless I understand what's going on with it, because if I just throw money at it, like a few weeks later it could be in the shitter because I didn't read into the fact that they like were heading in a certain direction, you know? And maybe it was just a few news articles first. You know, like,
but that's the next hard thing too, is like, hey, that did dip and whatnot, like you invested because you thought it's something of value down the road, you know? So like it's the next step is being patient, not pulling your shit, because like I lost half of it, so I might as well save the other half before that goes away. It's like you put your money in there, like you should be ready to have it stay there for a section, you know? And that's the next hard part.
That highlights like unemotionally.
That you're taking the emotion out of it, dude. Yes.
I like one show I love, but I don't watch often, and recently on a trip I was watching it, Shark Tank, man, and you just see like, you see the mentality. It's like you got to give yourself permission to like kind of break that generational like ceiling that you might be carrying for your wealth, right? Yep. At the end of the day, like my family came in here as immigrants, and like one thing I quickly realized is like, you know, the differences between rich families, middle class families, and like seeing that within like something like a high school or a school, and seeing how like certain people act as they grow up around money.
Yeah.
And you could either have a really big chip on your shoulder that helps you kind of break that gap, but also it's like that like belief in abundance, right? And I know it's like it's one thing to believe it's gonna happen, but it's another thing to like practice it with that belief.
Yep.
And I think by looking into these things, unemotionally looking at your investments, you can now take a step back and listen to people who have like opposite opinions. Like for me, it's let me hear why you don't feel that Ethereum is like has its utility and has its purpose. I welcome the conversation. Oftentimes when people don't want to talk about it, it's because they haven't took time to research it, they do not have any money in it, and they feel FOMO. Like, let's just be honest. It's like, all right, like I'm willing to share with you. I'm not an expert. I'll just share where I got the sources. Go to the sources yourself. You know? And it's a process-driven approach. Plus, like, I'll be damned if I'm going to be in this group at this age and then be the person who's got like a baby boomer mentality with what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. Things change, patterns come up very often with the economy. I think you could find some answers within all of that, right? There's some common principles you're going to constantly see when it comes to financial investing.
For sure.
Regardless, let me vibrate there.
There we go.
Let me ask you real quick. So like, for all those who are interested in the like, almost like the meme stuff a little bit, you know, so, like touch on Doge. Have you looked into like Shiba? Have you looked into like SafeMoon? Like, what's your opinion on all that stuff?
What's so funny is like my girlfriend sent me SafeMoon like like a while back, man. And like, I saw it. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. You get kind of penalized for pulling your money.
Yeah.
And like it forces that kind of like that camaraderie or that community of like keeping it in there.
Yeah.
And then you have Barstool Sports accepting it as its number one like hey, this is the wave we're riding.
I think SafeMoon of all three of them has kind of like potential in a
weird
way. I would still put Doge up there because everyone knows Doge, but like. I have a weird speculation about fucking
Dude, I agree with you. And TikTok was like, so it started with TikTok people posting it. My girlfriend shows it to me, I'm like, maybe. And I'm like, I have to set up this new account. I was like lazy. I'm like, I'll look into it again. And then fast forward 2 months, 3 months pass, and that number was way less than it got up to. I know for a fact I could have made some good money on it.
Yeah.
This beautiful announcer, Barstool Sports, lays out a green screen behind Portnoy, and he's like mixing up hats.
What he's putting his 40, what is it, 40K? He's like, he wanted to put his 40K into something.
Yeah, and that's what it was. And he puts the damn hat on, and I'm just kicking myself. Then you have the social aspect there.
Yeah.
It's like you look at AMC, GME, those like.
So I'm telling you, it pays to be stupid a little bit right now.
And just like unemotionally be like, I believe in human reaction. Dude, I have the funniest story ever when it comes to this. Like, Texas had this giant blackout period this winter.
Yeah.
So it hit the entire utility network. Power shut down everywhere. Water, like mains freezing over. They weren't ready for that level of cold.
Right.
And then there's an article that comes up, and it's Tesla invests, or Tesla-owned company puts new battery on Texas network.
Okay.
And I'm like, what's this company?
Yeah.
And I look it up, and it's like in the article it says like Gambit Energy or Gambit or something along those lines. So the ticker for this, it's owned by Tesla, so it technically falls under their ownership umbrella, so they don't have a ticker. Like, the ticker is Tesla.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, maybe there's something similar, like, and I realized after looking, there's a Gambit Energy Services LLC in Texas, and it's not the same thing Tesla owns, but it was set at like, geez, what was the price? I think the price was like 0.00 like 8 or like 8 cents or something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in my head, I'm thinking, people are gonna buy this thinking it's Tesla's company. People are gonna buy it. And I have Fidelity, and it's like a pink sheet. It's like a penny stock, so you have to call it in.
Yeah.
And being lazy, I'm like, I'll call it in tomorrow or something like that. Yeah. It goes from like that 8 cents, and like I was gonna put in like, jeez, man, it was like $100 or something.
Yeah.
And it popped up to $10.
Oh boy.
$10, and it's I think I want to say it's like it dropped down to 5, stayed at 5 for a long time, and then maybe like $1, and you saw the spike basically from that news article. And that was I knew I would have I wanted to invest in it. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
The easy.
Because I knew human behavior where people would think the same as me and do it.
Sell the rip.
And I didn't do it. And I'm sitting here. I think I calculated it was like, I would have gone up like $64,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it hurts.
Wow.
It hurts.
Yeah. But for that same reason, I'm like, oh, if I caught this next time, I'll know to do it.